In this episode, we are going to be looking at some very strange and bizarre scope cam clips. The kind of clips that make you scratch your head, rewind, crop in, and watch again and again in slow motion. The story starts on a dairy farm with a goose problem, a big goose problem, mostly Egyptian geese, but also some spurwing geese and a few different duck species. And I'm going to keep the majority of this footage for the main film that I plan to put together. However, there were a few clips that were so interesting to me that I thought I'd actually pull them out, look at them in more detail, and make an entirely new video about them. These are those clips. I had pulled up to a dam on a very calm morning, hardly a ripple on the water. It was the perfect scenario for an airgun waterfowl hunt, so I loaded up some 34 grain hollow point slugs, 22 caliber, and I got ready to fling some lead. Now, as with most hunts on the water at a moving target, it's inevitable that you'll see something like this every now and again. A miss and a massive explosion on the water where the slug has expanded and forced a large amount of water out of the way. I've seen this many times before. I expected this. I had a choice between some red bull teals that were keeping relatively still and some Egyptian geese that seemed to have had one too many red bulls, and I could have gone for either as they're both in season, but I decided to go for the slightly more energetic geese as they are a bigger problem to the farmer.
Dead.
Now, at first glance, in real-time speed, it looks like nothing more than a headshot, but afterwards, when I slowed it down, I saw something that you would never expect to see from a small bore airgun at these ranges. The slug curls in from about 180 yards, lands right on top of the goose's head, and take a look at this. We start to see a bunch of splashes all around, and these are clearly caused by something traveling at high speed, most likely fragments of the slug. And behind that, we get whatever's remaining of the slug continuing on and skimming on the water surface all the way to the back of the dam. This is worth playing again, so let's rewind and play through at 1/8 speed. I'll let you make your own conclusions, but I think that the hard bone in the goose's skull was enough to actually tear that slug apart. Shortly afterwards, I get another shot from around the same distance. As always, I wait for the goose to face either towards or away from me so that there's no lateral movement, and I take the shot.
Dead.
Well, I promise you, shooting it like at these distances, 160 meters, 165 meters, is not easy. The bird, if it just moves slightly and you time it wrong, no chance. But I'm able to wait until they turn facing towards or facing away from me, then I take the shot. So here's that shot in slow motion, and this is the next crazy thing we see. The slug also strikes the head, but it seems to hold together a little bit better. Look at this though, we can actually see the slug here and track it. Look at how it literally curves in the air and changes its course. To me, this is an indication that it is badly deformed and that the airflow around it is causing it to veer off, sort of like a cricket ball or a baseball if you give it some swing. Here's one that I pulled at the very last moment. I just nicked the goose's tail, but watch the slug skim low on the water. It's absolutely insane. If we crop in, you'll see that there seems to be a trail between each bounce. I believe this may be water that is actually flying off the slug as it continues to rotate at a crazy speed. Kind of like if you dunk a tennis ball in the water and then throw it while spinning it, you're going to get some water flying off of it. And here's the shot in real time so you can see just how fast that slug is still moving. From here I switch to the 22-50, and this is a whole different story. These bullets are traveling at over 3,800 feet per second, so they literally turn to lead vapor the moment they hit water or flesh. On this shot you can see that there's virtually no sign of any shrapnel at all. Most of the bullet fragments are contained within the body of the goose itself. And this is what makes the 22-50 so good for varminting and pest control. There's very little danger of the bullet traveling far behind the target. Well, unless you're using like a monolithic or something, but that's a different story.
There you go.
On this next shot, the bullet strikes the neck, so the jacket fragments aren't contained as well. You'll see that there are a few splashes, but they are very minor compared to the air gun. So my guess is that it's just pieces of the light copper jacket that are flying off. These last few clips come from a different farm where I've been filming new episodes for the Pigeon Paradise series, again on water that is relatively flat. This time we're looking for some spur-wing geese, and we've got my shorter FX Impact shooting the much lighter FX Hybrid slugs.
Okay. As soon as you keep still, Mr. Goose, sending a hybrid towards you. Oh! Wow! 120 meters on a moving bird, held for the movement, straight through the head. That was absolutely insane. Man, I hope I got that clear on scope cam. This little gun punches well above its weight. I know the scope is probably a little bit overkill for this gun. It's all I had, so it's all I could put on. But I'm kind of glad I have it on because we got some good scope cam footage there. 120 meters in the head on a moving goose.
Well, the footage was actually better than I thought because you get to see this. Once again, the slug is actually curving from right to left, and you can follow it clearly as it skims. Now here's where it gets interesting, because I tried my very best to replicate what I'd seen on the scope cam clips by simply shooting into the water, and I could not do it. One thing I can tell you is I've never seen anything like that with pellets. So something about a pellet shape is just not conducive to the whole skimming on the water thing. I think it's that pellets simply do not expand at all when you shoot something with them. Even a JSB Hades, you know, it might expand a little bit, but it's not going to mushroom out like a slug does. Just wait on a second, we've got a boat coming past here. Problem about filming on the rivers, you get these boats. Okay, as I was saying, pellets don't expand enough to actually change to a shape that skims on the water. Slugs, on the other hand, because they've got this massive hollow point, do. But when I try to shoot into the water and get a slug to bounce, I think the hydraulic force of the water going into that hollow point just tore the slug to pieces. If you've ever shot a slug into water, you'll know what I mean. It doesn't mushroom, it just shatters into many pieces. Especially since we're shooting a heavy slug at like 1,000 feet per second, it's still got well over 50 foot-pounds of energy. By the time it hits the water, it's just going to tear itself to bits. But if you shoot an animal with a slug and it's going through feathers or fur, it gives it a little bit of a cushion before it actually hits the flesh, and when it expands, it's a bit more controlled. These are some slugs that I've recovered from animals. We'll give you a close-up here, but this slug has opened up, mushroomed out. There's been little bits that have actually come off, like as you've seen in these clips, where it actually moves in all kinds of different directions, but there is a main piece of the slug that continues on. And I think that this main piece, it's still spinning, it's still got some sort of controlled movement to it, and because it's an odd shape, it does some curving through the air, but generally speaking, it turns into a mushroom shape and is more able to bounce on the water. That's just my theory. I may be totally wrong. Love to hear you comment down below. What is this crazy phenomenon that we're seeing? I haven't ever seen that with pellets. It might bounce once or twice, but not that sort of skimming that we're seeing in these clips. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And take a look at the link down below to the FX Impact, custom impact that I've been working on with Utah air guns to shoot these crazy heavy 34 grain slugs. They are now putting this gun together for you guys to buy. I've been working with them on all the internal pieces and all of that, and I'll put a link down below as well to the video where I discuss this gun and what makes it so different to a standard impact. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.